Worried that my relationship with my father will be desolate, will not exist anymore.
Hey besties, it's Anya from Reality Recap. Welcome back to the channel. Another day and another update on Sister Wives, and today's story is all about Christine Brown's second youngest daughter, Ysabel. Apparently, she is being sued for a car accident, allegedly involving Salt Lake City, Utah. It would have been about the year 2023 when the accident could have happened. As per a traffic infraction notice Ysabel had in March 2023, it took place near Midvale City, Utah, on I-15 during what appeared to be congested traffic. The complaint in law is that there were 4 vehicles involved in the accident. So let's jump back to March 30th, 2023. Court documents in a traffic case filed with Midvale City in the Salt Lake area show Ysabel was issued a "following too closely" citation. This type of citation is typically issued when a motorist rear-ends another driver because they were not maintaining a safe distance, which can cause property damage or injury. The plaintiff is suing and claims she was driving the first car in the multi-car accident. Here is what the court document accuses. Ysabel then had a valid driver's license, had allegedly completed a driver education course, and was presumed to be knowledgeable about all traffic code and safety regulations. The accident occurred on I-15, south of Winchester Road, in Midvale, near the vicinity of Murray in Utah. The location is not extremely far from where Christine and David were living at that time. During March or April, they supposedly purchased a house in Lehi, which also aligns with the chronology of this accident. The plaintiff was legally operating a gray Subaru Outback in the far left travel lane then. Behind her was a car driven by Matias Gonado. Behind Gonado was a car driven by Jadat Murray. And behind Murray's car was Ysabel, driving a Honda HR-V. When traffic ahead of her began slowing down, the plaintiff slowed and brought her vehicle to a complete stop, waving motorists behind. Both Mr. Gonado and Mr. Murray, too, slowed down and executed controlled full stops. Ysabel allegedly did not slow down in time, however, and collided into the rear of Mr. Murray's car with tremendous force. This set off a domino effect. Murray's car drove into Gonado's car, which drove into the plaintiff's vehicle, allegedly causing her injury in the process. The complaint states that Ysabel's negligence, failure to slow down, failure to keep a proper lookout, and failure to drive her car was the proximate cause of the accident. Thus, the plaintiff is suing for body injuries, some of which are long-term or even permanent. There is a no-fault automobile insurance model in Utah, albeit modified. What that implies is that although the drivers are to look to their own insurance companies for coverage, they are still able to sue the less responsible party, as long as they're found to be less than 51% at fault. If so, they are able to recover damages for health costs, pain and suffering, and for loss of their vehicle. So, in this case, the plaintiff would presumably first attempt to recover damages from her own insurer. But if Ysabel were determined to be underinsured or if her insurance company denied the claim, the plaintiff might then be able to pursue an action against Ysabel herself for additional damages. In situations like these, when all other avenues are pursued, such as insurance claims and negotiations, only then can a suit be prosecuted. That is perhaps why this very case was only filed a few years after the accident itself. The plaintiff herein reiterates and incorporates the above claims, contending that the defendant was careless in that, inter alia, he did not slow down, did not maintain a proper lookout, did not observe driving rules appropriate to the conditions of the road, and did not exercise safe driving control of the vehicle. This negligence is being claimed as the direct and proximate cause of the accident and the resulting injuries of the plaintiff. The plaintiff has suffered physical injuries as a result of the defendant's actions, and stands to continue suffering these injuries into the future. Furthermore, the plaintiff complains of medical expenses already exceeding $3,000, and that documentation will be provided at trial. They also complain of emotional and physical pain, loss of enjoyment of life, incapacity to carry on day-to-day activities like work, hobbies, or housekeeping, and possibly even permanent injury or disability, all caused by the accident. The plaintiff now requests judgment of damages for past, present, and future special damages, including medical costs, consequential losses, potential future care, and all other out-of-pocket expenses, to be determined at trial. They're also requesting general damages for things such as physical and emotional pain, permanent disability, if any, and loss of enjoyment of life. They also request pre- and post-judgment interest, court costs, and such other relief as the court finds fit. The action requires a jury trial and includes the requisite statutory filing fee. This lawsuit was actually filed on June 23rd in Salt Lake County, Utah. Now, Utah law requires that in order to make a claim of negligence for an auto accident, the plaintiff must have incurred at least $3,000 in medical expenses and also meet some thresholds for physical injury and negligence. Although there aren't many publicized facts about the exact timing of the accident, I did do a bit of research on accidents in the area of and around the time of the accident. That stretch of I-15 in Salt Lake City is quite well known for accidents. I'm not really sure why. Maybe because the area is so congested, or possibly it has to do with treacherous winter driving conditions. But accidents happen there all the time, some of them even fatal. Luckily, this accident does not appear to have resulted in any fatalities. It does not appear that Ysabel herself was physically injured, but the plaintiff does appear to have been. And quite honestly, during busy hours like rush hour, these chain reaction rear-end collisions are extremely common. Most of us have been in, or narrowly avoided being in, a situation such as the following. Traffic comes to a sudden stop, and if you're not watching closely enough in time, or even just momentarily distracted, it's easy to end up rear-ending somebody. From how this case is described, it is as though traffic just halted. The first car halted, the two cars that followed it halted as well, and Ysabel, unfortunately, collided with the third car. In a chain reaction. These types of accidents are terrifying. In fact, there was a very similar crash in the same part of the freeway just a couple months ago, where a vehicle ended up stuck underneath a semi-truck. There was also a 7-car pileup in April, again in that same dangerous area. Honestly, car accidents are something that most of us go through at some point. Sometimes we're at fault, and sometimes we're not. But my heart really goes out to Ysabel here. Think about all that she had going on when this likely occurred. Her mom was buying a house with her new boyfriend, she was starting college, and she was sorting through all kinds of emotional and life changes. It must have been really overwhelming. She must have had her hands full by that time, though, and to be honest, I do not believe that Ysabel was careless or irresponsible at all. She clearly stayed on the scene, since she was issued a ticket, so she did not avoid or run from whatever it was. What's weird to me is just how long it actually took, nearly 2 years, before this suit was actually brought. It sort of reminds me of what was going on with Paedon back in 2018, back in Nevada. This accident did not take place on a freeway, but it was on a major highway, and he rear-ended someone in the same type of way. In Cody's case, Cody got sued along with him, probably because the car that was involved in the accident belonged to Cody. I also remember there was an issue with insurance. Either they weren't covered or undercovered. That whole thing ended up going to arbitration. During that arbitration, the two women suing had them present their medical bills, And after perusing all of that, a judgment was made against Cody and Paedon. I believe the total ended up being more than $30,000. With Ysabel's situation, the lawsuit is not very informative as it pertains to insurance. It's generic. No date included, no attached copy of the accident report, no breakdown of insurance policy coverage. While they do indicate they will present evidence of medical bills and fees at trial, it still feels like the complaint lacks a lot of that information that would make it more concrete. It's really sad. Lawsuits are not easy, not for anybody as young as Ysabel. I just hope it's not one of those things where the driver did not have the right kind of insurance or was not insured enough. That can be a huge issue, especially with new drivers. Sometimes, when you have liability but no collision, your own damages aren't paid for in an accident. Liability can pay you for your injuries, but typically won't pay the other guys. And if your car is totaled without collision insurance, you're just out of luck repairing or replacing it. That's kind of the best way I can describe it. I used to skip collision coverage when I was around that age as well. I know, not the brightest moment, but we had old cars and my parents didn't think it was worth the cost to pay extra for coverage that wouldn't even be replacing the car in the first place. It only shows how beneficial having proper coverage is. I'm not blaming Ysabel for not having it, but this is your reminder. Make sure you're covered. And most importantly, never follow too closely and always watch what's happening in front of you on the road. Hopefully, Ysabel won't have to go through a full trial. I'm hoping the damages aren't excessive. Accidents like these really can happen to anyone, even the most cautious drivers. In the meantime, if the woman in question was seriously injured, I truly hope she gets what justice and compensation she deserves. If her injuries, as they're stated to have been, are as bad, she should be compensated, not just for her medical bills, but for lost wages, emotional distress, and any future impairments that have affected her quality of life. So what are your thoughts on all of this? Leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to this video, hit that subscribe button if you are new here, and ring the bell so that you never miss an update. Thanks so much for watching, besties. Bye to guys.